Welcome to the Clarity Advisor Show, where you'll learn how to grow your team today. Join Ken Trupke and his guests as they discuss what works and doesn't work to grow your team in today's world. And now, your host, Ken Trupke.
Hello and welcome to the Clarity Advisor Show. My guest today is Cam Roberts, president of Laser Pavement Solutions and the host of the Stripe It Like It's Hot podcast. Cam is a man of family and faith and is an example of what can happen when you invest in yourself and surround yourself with the right people. And while he's had success with his company, his real passion is returning to others what he's learned from business coaches and other people on his journey. So here to share more about growing a business and building a team, welcome to the show, Cam Roberts. Cam, thanks for being here.
It's my pleasure. Thank you, Ken, for having me.
Oh, you're welcome. So Laser Pavement Solutions, tell me what you do, what problem you guys solve, and who are your clients?
It's a great question. We improve communities. That's what we do. So the company exists, and I should clarify right off the hop, that's not how the company started. The company started with just me painting parking lots, in literally towing a line painting machine in a motorcycle trailer behind my Dodge minivan. So that's how it started. And when it started, it had nothing to do with improving communities. But the passion of the company is to any work that we do is designed to improve the community, whether it's keeping parking lots and pavements safe, particularly in the winter. So snow removal, big part of our company. We're in Northern Canada, so we get a nice healthy dose of 5 months of winter. But also just, even some of the maintenance type services we do for asphalt and pavement, such as, repairing asphalt cracks, seal coating, those are done to improve the longevity of pavement. And we firmly believe that, we're in a market where you don't really maintain pavement. It's just not a thing here until we started doing it. But we believe that by doing that, we're going to prevent people from having to spend a lot of money repaving parking lots. So if we can prevent that from happening and, our customers don't have to repave every 15 years and spend ridiculous amounts of money, then that's going to improve the community because now money can stay back in that business. And we also like to make pavement look good. We do a lot of customized work. So we want people's brand and their image to look good in our work, and our technicians do their best to reflect that. So the actual services, anything with pavement. So asphalt, concrete, that's us.
Got it. And it's striping, seal coating, and then do you do indoor as well?
We do actually a little bit. So, you're not going to find a lot of asphalt indoors, obviously, but some concrete work. We'll do some repair work. We'll also do a big thing that we find. And again, this goes hand in hand with, everything we do is rooted in that passion of improving community. So value, safety, aesthetics. What we find with indoor work, Ken, is we have a lot of industrial facilities here. So forestry, major industry here. So we have a lot of industrial facilities that have indoor concrete with machines flying around all day. My goodness, we were just at the recyclers recently and they have giant wheel loaders just flying around, with people walking around. So yeah, a lot of indoor markings that we do are durable paint markings. They're designed to last a long time to keep people safe. We do not want to see people run over with equipment. So yeah, we do some cool things like that.
Yeah, that's more what I was thinking. I'm glad you pointed out there's not a lot of asphalt indoors. But yes, I was thinking the lines in a warehouse that define where forklifts can go and other equipment can go and where they can't. And so, that's cool. So, and then snow plowing, snow removal, you said also, that's part of the business as well?
Yeah, there's a bit of a story, a little bit of one, which we can get into later if you want. But I swore I would never do snow removal because I hated snow removal. I'm not a very good Canadian, Ken. I hate snow removal. But as my first business coach pointed out to me, he's like, my goodness, Cam, you're already in these people's parking lots. These are your ideal clients. And he was in South Carolina at the time. And he's like, from what I understand, Cam, it snows a lot up there. So would this not be something we should consider of helping your clients with snow? So that was part of the evolution of the company in 2020. And now it's a huge part of what we do. We take snow extremely seriously. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I love too, I mean, we were joking a little bit there, but I love the idea of thinking about your business as improving communities. And as broad as that might feel, you guys have a very specific definition of how you improve communities. But the idea of safety and appearance, it's great. I really like that. And it doesn't feel like you've lost the focus of, it's not like we're in the people business who happens to sell pens. Like, it feels like there's a legit connection between serving the community, improving the community, and what you literally do in terms of pavement, asphalt, striping, snow removal, et cetera.
I mean, I would, in a healthy, respectful way, challenge any service company who, like, I guess what I'm thinking here, Ken, is the first question you asked, like, well, what do you guys do? I think the automatic reaction is, well, we do this. We renovate homes. I drywall. I do plumbing. Yes, that's what we do. Right. But if you really dig down as to the why, like, why do we do this? Because for me, and I've said this before many times, and I'm sure we'll talk about this a little bit later too, as far as team building and culture. Like, I've told people at our company many times, like, if we'd kept the company really small, like 3-4 people, myself personally, I would be taking home way more money. Like, we're in growth mode still. I don't pay myself a lot. And had we kept the company small, not had as much overhead, not expanded the fleet, not made, I would be taking home more money. But that's not why I do what I do. So in a very similar way of thinking about it in terms of money, if we were just chasing money, that doesn't really interest me. Like, we could paint 1 million parking lots, and that would be exciting, but that's not going to serve the bigger mission of why are we doing this. If we got to the millionth, piece of pavement and we did it, and then what? Like, I don't know, another million. Like, so along the way, I think it's really important. I've really dug down for myself with my mentors. Why are we doing this? And now that we have that it's very clearly in our company, it's in our manual, it's in our marketing. We talk about it at team meetings. We exist to improve communities. It really is a breath of fresh air.
Yeah, that's great. Well, that's a good jumping off point too. I wanted to step back and understand a little bit of your journey. So tell me about your early career and what led to Laser Pavement and getting into this business, and then the evolution from there to broadening to the improving communities idea.
Yeah, sure. So I'm not a pavement guy by any means. That's not how I was raised. My dad was a government worker, so very steady. We had a stable upbringing. My first real job, or my first couple of real jobs, were one was in like a manufacturing type facility, and then I ended up taking a job in the maintenance department in a shopping mall in a very small town, north, even more north than where I am now. So North Canada, small town, but had a decent sized shopping mall, and so I got exposed to a lot of cool things, from hiring contractors, service work, that sort of thing. And we were the customer, so I got to see a lot of the tension that exists between contractor and customer. And there's a lot, especially in commercial and small town. But I guess the specific reason about pavement and it started with just painting parking lots. And the reason why is in that small town, there was literally one guy who painted parking lots. And now it wasn't a huge town, so it's not like you needed 10, but we tried to hire him once and it didn't go smooth, to say the least. It was an experience that even at a young age, in my early 20s, I would never forget. And I just remember thinking in my early 20s, Ken, like, there's no way there's got to be more people than this to do this. And so we got to the point where one year we actually expanded the mall. We built, the ownership of the mall expanded and built a new section. And my boss at the time, he was so adamant of not hiring that one guy that we hired a company in literally in Alberta, so another province over, because we just didn't want to deal with this guy. So I kind of had that idea for painting parking lots for a long time. I was the kind of guy, even though I grew up with a government worker dad, so he's not really an entrepreneur type. I always had that itch. I was the guy who I had all these crazy business ideas, Ken, and before I started painting parking lots, I had a commercial cleaning business, and I did some other goofy things, and started renovating, doing some renovation work at the mall for some of the local tenants. But what really pushed me over the edge to get into the parking lot thing and the pavement thing was In 2018, it was February 5th, 2018, I had a bad accident at work. So I wasn't at the shopping mall anymore. I had gone to the glass industry. The shopping mall sold, so I got a small severance, and I went to one of the contractors that we would typically hire at the mall. And I was there for about 3 years, and I had a bad accident. I actually severed my two fingers on this, not this hand, but my index finger, my middle finger. So they didn't come off, thankfully. They were just kind of like dangling there. I did lose the tip of my thumb on this hand. So yeah, if any of your viewers, if you want the visuals, come watch Clarity Advisors on YouTube. So they managed to put these two fingers back on. I got a bunch of metal in these. They don't work so good. They get cold very quickly. But that accident forced me to be off work for like a month, and I don't do well sitting around. So something in my brain said, I've always had that parking lot painting idea. And so that's how it was born. And I had no idea what I was doing, but I did a ton of research, and I found a ton of people who were gracious enough to, give me some of their time and information. And it was about 3 months after that accident, I started painting parking lots. And I would say the thing that probably of all things, just to sum up the beginning story, the thing that really pushed it over the edge for me to do it, I was 25, I guess a little bit older, maybe 26, 27 when I started. So we didn't have a lot of money. We had two kids at home, a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. I didn't have a lot of money, but it was the promise from my old boss at the shopping mall, who was still there. I told him, I was like, I got this idea for painting parking lots. And he's like, if you buy that machine, we will be your first customer. So that's what pushed it over the edge. Well, 3 months later on a May long weekend, I was there attempting to figure out how to paint parking lots.
That's a great story. It's interesting. I talk to a lot of people on the show and just, off the show in real life too. And it seems like that, how did you get here story is never an easy straight line where all the dots connect and it's perfect. It's always some kind of interesting, well, that's a funny story and, twists and turns to get there. And so, yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. That's great. So you hinted at the team is bigger than it could be. You could be a much smaller team and, different economics at that point. But what does the team look like right now? Roughly how big are you and what kinds of positions do you have on the team?
Yeah. So in total, I just double checked this morning because I figured you would ask. So we're at 15 right now. We just scaled down just a tiny bit as we get towards the end of our summer season. When we get into winter, we actually go up in numbers just because of the labor force required to fulfill snow contracts goes up. So yeah, we typically this year we hovered at around 16 full-time people. You'll have to forgive me. I've already forgotten the second part of your question.
What kinds of positions?
Right. What does it look like? Yeah, we're kind of, I guess I would say we're a strange company in the sense that we don't really hire laborers. So, the town I'm in now, it's Prince George, BC. So there's 80,000 people here, give or take. So we know that it's very rare for us to be able to hire someone in production who has painted parking lots, who has done seal coating of pavement, those people just don't exist. So we've realized very quick. I realized very quickly when I started hiring, like I have to train these people very quickly because I don't have the luxury of being in Los Angeles where there's people with this experience. Right. So when we hire people, those positions, what they look like is we bring people on to join if they want to join the production team. They get started right from day one as a technician. So very quickly, we onboard quickly. We do a lot of hands-on training in the field. We have in an ideal world, we would have a senior technician working alongside every technician, and then a foreman to oversee all of those crews. So a foreman to oversee both the asphalt, the line painting, and even the snow division. One other cool thing about us is, generally speaking, our core goal is to retain 75% of our full-time employees into the winter as well. And actually, we have consistently been above that. So if you've never plowed snow before, if you've never operated a skid steer or a wheel loader, we will do that. We will get you the training because we value, keeping people more consistently throughout the year and being a part of the team all year round. So instead of working 65 hours a week and 70 hours a week in the pavement season and working your face off, we try to keep it to more manageable levels, 40 to 50. And then with the promise that we'll keep you annually and, you work across both the summer and winter divisions. So a lot of challenges to make it work, but we're doing okay.
Yeah, sure. So you had mentioned culture earlier, and I know you feel strongly that a strong culture is important. So tell me about that. How did you come to that conclusion, and what are you doing specifically to make your culture strong?
I think it's everything. I really, really do. I think the moment you hire one person, it becomes quite likely the most important thing you could do. So I guess when did I realize that was your question? When did I realize culture was important? Well, maybe I'm kind of blessed in the sense that, just genetically wired this way. I remember hiring my first employee years ago. I was in agony, Ken, because I felt like, my goodness, if I hire an employee, I'm going to be responsible for this person's well-being, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That freaks you out, especially because when you start a business, in any industry, you don't exactly get trained on how to hire people. You don't get trained on how to build a good system. You usually figure it out as you go along, or you pay a mentor and they help you, or a business coach or something like that. So I've always been just kind of genetically wired to my I call it my give a crap meter. When it comes to people, it's probably unnecessarily high. Like I've probably made some poor decisions and kept people longer than they should have because I'd rather be the person that gives too many chances than not enough when it comes to our people. But as we've kind of grown over the years, from 2 to 4 to 6, and then, 15, 16, 25 in the winter, I've seen firsthand, a few things. I guess, number one, I think the reason why it matters so much to myself personally and why I inject that into the company is, I mentioned at the outset, the company's passion is to improve communities. So that's very much what we do and why we do it. But we also have our mission is to give anyone who works here the opportunity to reach their maximum career potential. So that's part of our marketing as well. And I get very nervous sometimes because I realize, like, I can't just say that on social media. We can't just say, yeah, we'll give you maximum opportunity. If you don't have a strong culture and you don't have people bought into what we're doing, why we do it, you'll never be able to allow people to reach their career opportunity. So it's not one thing, I guess. I'm sure you know this as well. I'm sure you'd agree. Culture is not one thing. It's not something you just do. It's something that has to get built indefinitely, brick by brick by brick. So I've been very thankful to have a lot of mentorship in my career growth, who have taught me firsthand from their experience, but also from an implementation standpoint. This is how you can build a strong, supportive culture. So I take that very seriously. I mean, that's probably the most important thing that I do, honestly, at this company.
Yeah, and recruiting right now, recruiting and retention of talent is such a key topic. So I want to touch on that, and we'll do that on the other side of the break. So stay with us. We're talking with Cam Roberts of Laser Paving Solutions on the Clarity Advisors Show. We'll be right back.
Is your business where you want it to be, or on track to get there? Clarity Advisors helps business leaders improve communication and get your team aligned and engaged for greater success. We specialize in helping you streamline your sales and operating systems to improve efficiency and grow your profits. Call or text Ken at 616-822-2998 to have a complimentary 12-minute call to see what some clarity could do for you.
Okay, welcome back to the Clarity Advisors Show. Today we're talking with Cam Roberts, president of Laser Paving Solutions. And Cam, just before the break, I teased the idea of the importance of attracting and retaining talent. So I know you've got a focused approach to that. So what are you doing specifically to attract the right people for your culture And then let's talk about how you're retaining them.
Yeah, sure. I love recruitment. I love it. Fell in love with the recruiting process, the hiring process, pretty early on. And I think, as I mentioned earlier, it's not like we get training, as business owners. Nobody teaches us how to recruit people, how to interview properly. So it's been a lot of trial and error on my part. So where do we find these people? I mean, I personally view, recruiting is, I guess, let me just say what I see a lot. And maybe it's just more specific to my market, but I do see a lot of, it sounds a little harsh, but I see a lot of lazy narratives when it comes to recruiting. So some of our, service partners or subcontractors, they'll often tell me can't find people. Nobody wants to work. Gen Z, my goodness, these people are horrible. They don't want to work. And I found quite the opposite, truthfully. I don't think there's an issue at all with people not wanting to work. I think there's a really big issue with companies that have not correctly explained or cast the vision and installed a purpose into why you should work with us. So in other words, don't just hire, don't just throw out job ads and hope you get some people who have skills. I mean, if you do, that's great. But ideally, what we've tried to do and what I've tried to do from very early days is, can I consistently tell a story in our marketing of who we are, what we do, why we do it? And so that when people do see a job posting, because we will make job postings, of course, but when people see a job posting, I want them to already know who we are. I don't want them to guess. I want them to go onto our social media, onto our website, see team members, see faces, see write-ups. I want them to go onto social media and see, we put out a lot of ridiculous, funny content, but we also put out some, more meaningful and impact. And I want people I'm trying to attract people that can see themselves aligning with that purpose. I don't know anything about pavement, but these people are trying to improve the community. That's awesome, right? That's the people that I want. So, we've been kind of blessed and fortunate, I would say, just recently, we haven't had a foreman in about 2 months, and it's put a bit of strain in our operations department, not having a foreman. And our operations manager knows that. And we decided at our leadership meeting back in August, the beginning of August, we said, we're not going to hire a foreman yet. We're going to put a pin in it. And we're going to just wait until the snow season, because we really want to make sure the foreman that we get is really, really skilled with snow removal. So anyways, we decided to put a pause on it. That was the first day of our leadership meeting. We break for lunch, and at lunch, someone texts me. And it's somebody that I know who has asphalt, concrete, snow removal experience, has been a foreman before, and says, just curious, I see what you guys do. I know you. Any chance you guys are looking for people? And when he said that, I honestly didn't even think he was talking about himself. I thought he was just talking about somebody else he knew. And so, a quick discussion later, and we realized very quickly, we can't let this guy go. So we have to put up a job posting now to compare him to the market. And that posting went up the next day. And it was about 2 hours after that posting went up that the foreman of our biggest competitor gave me a phone call and said, I want to know more about this. And so, I don't say that story to, I don't think we're perfect by any means. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am suggesting is, I see, especially in my industry, in asphalt, and I'm sure it's across this, with a lot of different service type industries, it's so critical that you consistently tell this story of who you are, because the great people that you want to hire, so all the companies in my market that complain oh, nobody wants to work. Well, if you're only waiting to recruit the moment you need somebody, who do you think is going to show up at your door? Desperate people. The great talent that you really, really want are generally not looking for a job. What you're trying to do is hope that you catch that talent the day that they have a bad day at their job, or when they do realize after 6 months, you know what, maybe I could see myself working with laser pavement. That takes one other analogy that I've used before, I actually mentioned this at my first ever speaking event at a pavement conference. I'm a big football fan, Ken. I'm pretty sure I'd be a better American than Canadian because I love I don't watch hockey, but I watch football. And I said, I watch football every Sunday. I love it. I root for my 49ers like crazy. I said, at any moment, there's 11 people on the field for the 49ers. But for the whole game, there's 53 players that are on the side or on the team, right? So only 11 are on the field. So you have basic math. I'm very tired. 42 people who are not on the field. That's a lot of people sitting on the bench waiting. And the analogy I used was not only do they have 42 people waiting on the sideline, they also have a practice squad. So people who don't even get dressed for the game, but they are in the organization. They're just on the practice squad. And then if that wasn't enough people, because you usually have 10 or so people on your practice squad, every year they draft new players. So they do 7, 8 new college aged, kids come up into the ranks. And so the point was, you only need 11 people. So why do NFL teams dress 42 others, have a practice squad, draft players? It's because they know that they need a strong bench of talent when the time comes to be able to put them in. And you don't run your 11 players ragged and say, go play the whole game because you're really talented. And I said, why don't we apply that philosophy to business? Why don't we build a bench of talent and consistently put out a recruiting message? Even if we don't need those people right now, we should be building the message of why you should come work at our company. So that's what we try to do.
Yeah, I love those couple analogies. The one I've typically used is comparing recruiting to dating. You want to get to know people and you want to be a good match. When people aren't a good fit for your organization, that doesn't make them a bad person. It makes them a bad fit. And if I'm the one looking for work, that doesn't make them a bad company. It makes it a bad fit. And so the line I've used, which is also a line I encourage people to use in dating, is be the person you're looking for is looking for. And so in business, the people that what I found is the people that are mostly out there saying, the companies that are mostly out there saying, there's no good people, no one wants to work anymore. Well, that's not really true. It's that you're not attractive enough to the attractive people. The people that you're looking for aren't looking for you because you're not that company. And so the answer isn't complain about the workforce. It's become the kind of company people you're looking for want to work for. Be that company that the people you're looking for are looking for, and then they'll be looking for you. And when you're just the complaining person, well, yeah, who wants to work for the grouchy person who's complaining about how bad and lazy everyone is? So
it's so true.
Yeah. So that's how you bring people in, but you've got some strong retention numbers too. So, and you've talked about this idea of helping people grow to their highest professional level. Tell me about that. How do you retain people and how do you fulfill on that promise?
It starts before they even sign their job contract, truthfully. So I cannot take credit for this. I wish I could. I definitely adapted the idea, but this was not my idea. I'm involved with a great asphalt mentorship group. I love them so much. They're called Top Contractor School. And it's not even just for asphalt companies. They have home renovation companies in it. Fantastic. I recommend checking them out. Before I even joined Top Contractor School, I remember there was a free resource that my current mentor, Brian, gave out. And it was the forum was called How I Want to Be Coached. And basically it was a way for the Top Contractor School to kind of analyze the kinds of fits of companies that they could bring into their mentorship program. And I saw this form and I was like, that would be great for people. This was years ago. So I took their form and I renamed it. I call it How I Want to Be Employed. And I kind of adjusted the questions, not so much for coaching and mentorship, but for employment. And I put it onto a Google form, which is $0. And I'm not even sure, honestly, what possessed me to do it. I'm that person who's like, I don't need a lot of information with an idea. I'm an idea guy. I get 700 ideas a day. I'm just going to pick an idea. So I picked that idea. And since then, every single person, I mean, literally, Ken, every single person who's ever worked at Laser has filled out this form. That form only has 9 questions on it, but it is everything. It is so beneficial. So before you get hired, before you sign your job contract, you'll get sent a link to that form. Usually I send it out personally myself. And it's just 9 questions, and it gets into like, what are you looking for? What moves the needle for you personally, professionally? One of the questions is, where do you see yourself in 1 to 2 years professionally? What are your triggers? Like, what do you hate when you're working? What just gets you, like, what just grinds your gears? And conversely, like, what do you love? Like, what are 3 things we can expect from you is one of the questions on there. And again, I just put this form together, not really thinking it was going to be that big of a deal, but I kind of just lucked into it because that form is a massive deal. If you don't understand what moves your people and what motivates them and what they're trying to accomplish, how do you ever serve them? Like, how can you help them? How can I help them reach their maximum potential if I don't even know what they're looking for? The first question on that form is, describe what you're looking for in employment in 1 word. So it's amazing, Ken. Some people will say, I've had a lot of people over the years answer stability, right? So they've come from a work environment where maybe they don't have that, or they have kids, maybe a family, and they're like, I need stable. Like, don't jerk me around. Well, now that I know that, we can work with you and coach you as an employee that way. But on the other hand, we get some people who say, I want challenge. I want growth. Right? So maybe those people are willing to take on and shoulder more responsibility in order to reach that potential. And so it's not a tool that you use against people in any way, but through our quarterly feedback program, or even just, ongoing conversations that we have with our team members, like, I will to this day review that form for our people from time to time and be like, my goodness, remember when you wrote on your form in 1 to 2 years, you want to be in a position where you could take your kids to Disneyland and not worry about the cost? I can help you. This company can help you, not me. The company can help you do that if you buy into what we're building and the systems and the process and why we're doing it. I think that's probably the biggest thing, is you got to get in the head of your people and understand what makes them tick.
Oh, that's so good. That's really interesting that you came across that. And I'm curious, you've mentioned mentors a couple times, and you even just recently said your current mentor. So it sounds like you had a number of different ones. So tell me about mentoring. How did you come to the idea that you needed a mentor? And then what's your criteria, and how have you evolved that over time that you've changed mentors?
Well, it's a joke that I usually make at the company is, like, in the early days, the reason why we grew so fast is not because I'm smart. That's not it at all. It's because I'm like ruthlessly committed to figuring something out. So, like, the joke I've made with my ops manager, because he's very much the same way, is like, I'm willing to die on a job site to figure it out. So that first day when I showed up to the shopping mall that I used to work at with a minivan at 10 p.m. at night, I remember telling my wife, I'm just going to go for like an hour. I just need the peace of mind knowing that this $6,000 machine I just bought works. I don't know what I'm doing, and that feeling of like, I'm just so freaked out. I mean, I spent like 6 hours there because I just couldn't stop working. I just loved it. So I've kind of got that wired into me, like, I'll just figure it out or die trying. But see, I've already gone on a tangent. Remind me what your question was.
Yeah. So how's that led to mentors?
Oh, right. That's right. So when it comes to mentors, I realized, as the company started to grow, like, my wife is going to leave me if I just, commit to this. I'm going to figure it out or die trying, because I'll always be working. And I refuse to do that. My faith and my family are more important. So I thought to myself, it was, really the company started getting going in 2019, 2020. And in 2020, I just simply couldn't keep up. Ken, I was like trying to do it all. I was estimating, I was doing the work. I had a helper, but yeah, I was just trying to do it all. And then get into snow removal on top of it at the end of the year. And I remember taking one call with a business coach that, truthfully, I didn't even really know that well. I kind of followed his content a little bit. He was really good at telling the story of who you are and what you do. So I kind of was aware of him. And I took one call with him simply because I was just getting so stressed. I was like, I could probably figure this out again, die or figure it out. Right. But I don't think that's fair to my family. And I should probably and I don't want to say no to our customers either. So I took a call with him, fully expecting to be like, you know what, I'll just sign up for his low cost group training thing. It was like $150 a month. And after 23 minutes, I signed a $3,000 Canadian a month contract because he just asked me questions that exposed everything that I was trying to figure out on my own. I call it decision fatigue. So I was growing this business, and when you grow a business from nothing, a minivan, you just get used to it. You make all the decisions, right? You decide what to go, where we're going, what jobs we'll do, how did the jobs go, how we deal with it. You just figure it all out. And after a while, you just get so used to making decisions that it was fatiguing me. I didn't want to make decisions anymore. And so investing in the mentor was the key, because he told me it's normal to feel decision fatigue. And you will always be emotionally invested in the company, just like you are with yours, Ken. No one's going to care about our companies more than us. So why not invest in someone who doesn't have that emotional attachment? They're not a shareholder, but they will help you succeed and help you do it a lot quicker, as opposed to me banging my head against a wall, trying to do it all and realizing it ain't going to work. I bet you, had I not signed up for him, I guarantee you there's no way I'd be where I am today, personally or professionally. Would I have figured it out on my own? Probably, maybe, with years of, trial and error. But I'm telling you, I could see the future, man, in 2020. I was like, this isn't going to be fair to my health, my wife. It's not good. So I took the plunge, and ever since working with Mike, I don't work with him now. We still stay in touch, but I've always said I will never, at any point, will I not have some sort of mentor or coach to help me.
I think that's really, really wise because, could you figure it out? Sure. And eventually you'll figure it out or die trying. But we can go so much faster and so much further with someone who's ahead of us or isn't. I like to say that you can read the label a lot easier when you're not in the bottle. And so finding somebody who's out of the bottle who can read the label for us and get us moving again. And it's all in service of our customers. If we're really called to serve this market, the way you put it is improve communities. If you're called to improve communities, well, then you owe them the speed and the acceleration to go faster and do better. And so that you can do more, so that you can serve them better. And so it's not a selfish motivation. It's like, I want to pay somebody to help me go faster for me. I want to pay somebody to help me go faster so I can fulfill my mission bigger, better, faster. So I'm all about the mentor idea. Obviously I advise clients as well, but I've gotten advice too. And I'm a believer in that idea that, so I read the books that I read, and talk to the people that I talk to and hire the people that I hire. Because that's the idea, is that if I want to be better and serve more people, then I've got to get better.
Mm. Something you said piqued my ear, and I have a 2-minute story. Can I tell you my 2-minute story?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh man. So it's about what you just said. I say 2 minutes, it'll be 4 because this is what I do. But you said, you owe it to your clients, right? You owe it to your customers to move quickly. Like I said earlier, I didn't want to say no. My schedule's full. I'm stressed out of my mind. More people want what we do, but I don't want to say no. That same conversation happened with my first business coach, probably on our second or third call, when it came to snow removal. So, and I wanted to share this story because hopefully someone hears it and goes, man, that speaks to me. Because at the time, again, he was in South Carolina, I'm in Canada. First few weeks of the coaching relationship, he's just digging into who I am, what I do, And of course the question comes up, well, Cam, I presume it snows a lot there. So what do you do in the winter? And I said, well, currently, to this point in the business, nothing, right? I have very low costs. So I just kind of just work on some sales initiatives. And he's like, well, why wouldn't you do snow removal? And at that point, my only experience with snow removal was back to the shopping mall, 10 years prior. My only experience was watching my boss hire a snow removal contractor. And the absolute agony, and I mean agony. I have this memory of him. We had this we had 32 security cameras at the mall. Half of them were outside. And he'd get this bill from the snow removal contractor, and he would have to like look at the itemized bill and then go to the security cameras and try to correlate, like, am I being overcharged? And then they'd miss a spot, and then there was miscommunication, like, oh, I didn't think we were supposed to do that. We can't help you because it snowed a foot, and like we can't move that. Just chaos. Snow is crazy, Ken. It's a crazy industry, but that's why we're in it. We're trying to take the crazy out. So anyways, my coach asked me, why don't you do snow? That's the reason I give him. All of these reasons, like too much liability, too much, chaos. I can't predict the weather. I don't like to operate equipment. Like, I've operated a skid steer. I don't want to do it. I get a headache, man. Like, it's not my favorite thing. So I'm pretty sure I gave him a 5-minute rant, and I think he respectfully listened, and he unlocked my brain a little bit because he said, two things. He said, number one, you can run a snow removal company and not be the guy out in the skid steer plowing snow. And I see your face, Ken. You're like, well, obviously, right? Like, we know this. I know this now, but at the time when you start a business and you're used to doing everything and you have decision fatigue, you don't see the forest through the trees, man. You just think, I have to do that. That's the first thing he said, was like, you don't have to do that. You could sell it. But the second thing, and the reason why your story piqued my ears and why I have now taken 5 minutes talking about this, is he reframed it in the way that, very similar to what you just said. He said, Cam, why, at the time the company was called Laser Line Painting, because that's all we did. He said, why do people in Prince George hire laser line painting? There's other painters in Prince George. Why do they do it? And I don't know exactly the answer I gave him, but I'm pretty sure I said, I think the greatest thing that we do is I love people. I'm a relationship guy. I'm going to make a relationship where I'm not transactional. I'm not just going to paint your parking lot, send you a bill, and see you next year. Like, I'm going to build a relationship with you. And I want to have a positive relationship. And he said, if that's the differentiation in your business, and you just finished ranting to me for 5 minutes about how your competition is not doing that, and a lot of the people who are in snow removal here are simply doing it just to stay busy in winter. They don't actually care about doing an effective job. They just have iron in the fleet and guys that want to work. So they're like, well, we might as well go plow parking lots, right? And he said, if that's the standard and your competition is not delivering the solution that your customers need, and you already have a relationship with these people in the summer, don't think about it in how much of a challenge this is going to be for you. Think about it in how many people in your market are you going to let down if you do not get into snow removal. How many people are going to have to go to your competition because there's no other option, and come the end of the snow season, they will be banging their heads against the wall, just like my boss used to, because no one's there to help really solve the problem and build a relationship. And so it was one of those, moments. Like, I really had to think about it, but he was 100% right. And I've actually, I've worked with other companies one-on-one and helping and coaching them. And I've said the same thing, like, don't take your foot off the gas and get comfortable because, you hit your goals early, or, no one wants to work, whatever the problem is, whatever is slowing you down, reframe it into, if I am actually making a difference with my customers, how many customers would I let down if I don't, increase my production capability, if I don't hire that key person, if I don't expand into that service offering, whatever the thing is. So I try to think about that a lot, man. Like, if we're actually here to improve the community, we owe it to the community to provide the best possible solution, reasonably speaking, to as many people as we can.
Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't have said it better. So I appreciate you sharing that. That's a great story and a good example of exactly what I was talking about. So, well, Cam, as we wrap up, I've got to ask you, Stripe It Like It's Hot, your podcast, where does that name come from?
My brain. I won't talk 5 minutes about this one, I promise. Yeah, that was my first business coach. Same thing. We were throwing ideas at the wall, and he's like, how come no one in your industry has a podcast? I don't know. I love podcasts. I listen to them while I'm working. And he's like, well, you should start one. And I was like, that sounds really hard, and I don't know what to do, and blah, 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 blah. Well, long story short, turns out it's not that hard to start a podcast, at least, not a low quality one. So I started that in 2021, and that's I love it, man. Like, it's brought me into the industry, really into the pavement industry, to connect with great people, bring value to people. Like, it started out with just me talking about line striping and how I did business. And it's kind of morphed now into more holistic small business talk and growing B2B companies. But yeah, the podcast, it's opened up a lot of doors for me. I've met great people. It's given me the opportunity to actually host training seminars for striping business owners virtually. I also work one-on-one with a small number of companies. I'm kind of limited in my time, but those are all things that, like, I love those, man. I love being able to help people solve the problems that I had when I was starting.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll have a link to your podcast in the show notes. But so that name, where does that come from? Stripe it like it's hot. What does that mean?
I mean it, man. Like, it was just in my brain. Like, I'm not a hip hop guy by any means, but Snoop Dogg had a great song called Drop It Like It's Hot. And it just came out of my mouth. Honestly, I wish I had a better story, Ken. My coach laughed his face off and he's like, if you don't call it that, he's like, I'm going to come up there and beat you. So Stripe It Like It's Hot. I'm kind of I'm not wearing the sweater today. Yeah, I just designed the logo. I got some graphic design experience and it just kind of took off and became a thing. And I was shocked, actually. Like, I expected one person to listen to it, but it actually, had maybe 10, more than one to start, but it got such a favorable response. I was pleasantly surprised, and a lot of people did like it, which is totally fine. But yeah, I don't know what else to say, Ken. I love doing it.
Oh, that's a great connection. I don't think you need to apologize for naming it, a riff off a Snoop Dogg song. That's a story in itself. So there you go. And as far as people listening or not listening, liking it or not liking it, I just love the Seth Godin line of, if people don't like what you're doing, it's not for them. We're not here to serve everybody. We're here to serve who we're called to serve, and to the best of our ability and as much as we can. And we talked about all that. But if somebody's kind of a hater on something, well, it's just not for them. Like, that's okay. There's plenty of things out there, right? There's plenty of other podcasts. You don't need to look far to find another podcast. And so if you don't like what I'm doing, go look and listen to something else. So yeah, all good. Hey, man, so who should reach out to you, and what would be the best way to do that?
Well, that's a great question. Who should reach out to me? So I'm even though our business it's now laser pavement, not laser line painting. So we do a lot more than just line painting. That being said, my passion is still very much in pavement marking. It's still a huge part of our business. And that's who I love connecting with. I love building connections, especially with, I have to be careful with time a little bit. A lot of people will reach out on Instagram or make comments on YouTube, or even just send me an email to the podcast email. I just interested in starting a striping business. So I do my best. I try to give people at least 15 minutes for that. But if people want to talk about, like, hey, I've got this business problem in my striping business or my seal coating business, please reach out to me. Like, even if it's just 15 minutes, I love making those connections with people. Best way, yeah, Instagram, send me an email. I mean, you find me online. I'm kind of lurking everywhere online. So, it's been more difficult this year in particular to be as thorough with my response times, but I always make sure I get back to people. And I love those. I love those connections. I love seeing people have an existing business that they just get stuck, like I was, and just, like, whether it's hiring or selling, whatever it is. And if I can just give 2 cents of value along the way, that's what I'm here for.
That's terrific. And we'll get your links in the show notes as well. So Cam, can't thank you enough for being here. Great conversation. Really enjoyed it. Thanks for sharing, and thank you for your time.
Man, thank you, Ken. I appreciate it.
All right, good. Well, with that, it brings us to the end of another Clarity Advisor show. Thank you so much for joining us. If you could be so kind as to leave a review on the platform you are watching or viewing, we'd appreciate that. And you can reach out by leaving comments, and we'll respond to those as well. And we'll see you next time on the Clarity Advisor show. Bye for now.
Thank you for listening to the Clarity Advisor show. Clarity Advisors is a speaking, training, and consulting firm specializing in helping you simplify your sales and operating systems to improve efficiency and grow your profits. Connect with Clarity Advisors today to learn more about how they can help you improve communication and get your team aligned and engaged for greater success.